Hello and welcome to TelecomTV. I'm Martyn Warwick. We're here in Silicon Valley in the United States at ONS. And I am talking with Jay Friedman, who is the CEO of Spark Integration Technologies. Tell us, to begin with, about Spark Integration Technologies, what its role is in SDN.
Spark Integration Technologies is about SDN on steroids, in a sense. SDN today is really focused inside a lot of communication network structure, infrastructure inside the data center. And what we do is we provide a more simplified, secure, and resilient model across the entire WAN to improve the remote connectivity and providing a software overlay that completely abstracts the WAN.
Why is that of importance?
In terms of importance, in terms of simplifying the entire network infrastructure, if you think of major retail outlets that have multiple locations, or oil and gas industry that have locations spread across the globe, their issues are not so much inside the data center. Their issues are how you span the globe and how do you communicate across the globe and do it very simply and securely.
What are the challenges then as far as you're concerned? What are you facing? What are your clients asking for?
Well, the major challenge is listening to the customer and knowing what they need. And we are working with a number of customers today that, for example, we're working with a company called MTN Satellite Communications, providing internet connectivity on board cruise ships. And today everyone wants to bring their iPhones and iPads on board ships and communicate and have their voice over IP calls. We provide a seamless connectivity between the ship and the shore.
What about issues such as security and resilience and so on?
You think about all the cybersecurity issues going on today. The entire industrial infrastructure of the U.S. is run on non-IP systems, but they're getting connected to IP technology. You look at the cybersecurity threats, providing an SDN kind of layer adds an abstraction from the underlying cybersecurity hacker to provide a more resilient access capability.
In addition to that, Jay, what are the biggest issues you're facing as a company, and what do your customers come to you and say, I need this to happen? What's the main theme of it?
The main theme is simplicity. If you look at a number of the projects that our customers work on, they take months to deploy, and sometimes weeks to months to build the network infrastructure as they add applications, they add devices. And so they're looking for a much simpler model that reduces their time to market and reduces the overall cost of ownership to run these kind of applications.
One of the main points that we keep hearing about SDN, NFV and the transform network is a redefinition of how the network itself is built, deployed and operated. That said, a lot of networks are quite old still. There's a lot of investment been made in them, and operators, service providers aren't going to throw that away. What you do is as much redefine the network as anything else, isn't it?
That's right. What we talk about is refining the network, or augmenting and enhancing what you already have. You don't need to throw away existing infrastructure. We're actually working with a company in Australia in terms of power utility system that they looked at what would have cost hundreds of millions of dollars of infrastructure to replace to bring it into sort of the new SDN world if they had to replace everything in terms of new age technology. That reduced down to, our component was very small, but their overall project reduced down to a few millions of dollars versus tens to hundreds of millions of dollars to replace their infrastructure.
There's been a lot of hype over the past 12, 18 months about SDN and NFV, and there's also been a lot of emphasis on it being open standards and open source. Do you find that you have difficulty as far as the standardization is concerned and what your customers expect?
Standardization, no. Standardization, having open source and an open community and people contributing has a lot of value. The downside risk to that is when you talk about security, when you have problems. Today you have the virtual neck of various vendors. When something goes wrong, you can go to your vendor and say, fix it, and I need it fixed now. Or if, from a cybersecurity standpoint, you need to make sure that all the kinds of penetration tests and extensive penetration tests are done on the technology. And in an open source world, it's questionable how that gets done. And so we have to solve those answers in terms of those types of issues.
What does Spark integration technologies bring to the party that others cannot?
And today, we don't see current competitors because everyone's currently really focused on the data center. You look at VMware and Nicira or the NSX product, it's all focused on the data center. All of the vSwitch and controller work that's being done is all focused on the data center. What we bring is how do you connect data centers to other data centers or connect data centers to other locations within an enterprise or a service provider network.
You're in an enviable position with no evident competitors. How long can that last?
It may not last long.
Great stuff, Jay Friedman. Thank you very much indeed.
Great, thank you.